Okay. And again, if you're doing this for your participants, you'll go ahead and tell them to go to get their Georgia PDS account because you'll be asking for it. And if they want to go ahead and type in their full name and their Georgia PDS account and the correct name of where they work. That's on decal, the correct name on decal. So if you guys want to go ahead and type in your Georgia PDS accounts, that'll be great. Make sure that it is just your number, not your trainer number. Because a couple of times last Friday, I had some trainer numbers, but I mean, of course y'all came up anyway, but so just make sure that it's just your number. So then you would go over the features of Zoom on how to turn the camera on, how to mute yourself, how to use the chat box. I would remind them too that if they chat with someone privately, that whenever the trainer whenever the trainer copies the chat box, then those private conversations copy also. So just make sure that, you know, they know that. How to raise your hand also. And that's it. That's it for that one. Okay. So, sorry, it's a Monday and I'm just like today. I don't know why. All right. So then I'd pull up, y'all can't see that, can you? I didn't think you could. Let me share my screen. Okay. So pull up this right here. That's the science play and exploration and the 3 objectives. So we'll go over the objectives. The participants will, number 1, recognize how science materials along with the use of language affect quality care. Participants will implement many science conversations with children as a daily habit. And the last one is participants will identify how to add science language to enhance play and learning by planning and being intentional. So again, teachers, we're seeing that a lot of times teachers just aren't comfortable with the science and with teaching the science to their children. So we want to try to get them more comfortable and being able to do this on a daily basis. That's what we want for these teachers. So again, we have the poll for them. How comfortable are you teaching science? So if you guys will go ahead and just fill out that poll on how comfortable you are teaching science.
It didn't launch.
Yeah, launch it.
Oh, yeah. There's a big button that says launch poll. All right. I'm going to end the poll now. And I'm going to share the results. And this is, can y'all see the results? That's great. That nobody's a 10, which we had one person the last time for math as a 10. Everybody's pretty comfortable. It looks like y'all are, you know, y'all are okay getting your feet wet in the science material. So that's a good thing. We are at a 7 for most people. So, well, actually it was 3, 3, 3, and 4. So we're right there in the middle. We'll relaunch this at the end so we can go over it again just to see if it changes. And I am taking a picture of it on my phone. That way, you know, with all your participants, then that way you can take the first one and the second one and you can go through both of them at the end of the training. So, okay. So with that, however comfortable you are, then ask the participants to write in the chat box why they picked that number. And this is just like the last time for the math, and just ask them why they picked the number that they picked. All right, so we've got one so far. I love the nature part of science, but not so much the experimenting part. You just don't like to get dirty, or you don't like to clean it up. Why don't you like the experimenting part?
Uh, it's so unpredictable when you're working with little children. It's like, is this going to work? Is this going to keep them engaged? I don't know. I mean, is this more of a me activity rather than a them activity? So, yeah, the experimenting makes me a little nervous.
That makes sense. Yeah. Um, all right. And then sometimes I think the vocabulary and experiments can be a bit confusing. That sounds kind of goes along with yours, Shelley, on maybe confusing for the kids. And then Cynthia says the same, because I like science and especially nature, but I'm not comfortable with some areas of the science like electricity. You must have had a bad experience a while back, Becky. So Mandy likes the hands-on part of the science. Tina said sometimes not sure on age-appropriate activities. Yes, absolutely. Science can be hard to try to get it down to, like, for 2-year-olds and then for an 18-month-old. So, and that way, yes, it is hard. I like the experimenting and hearing the different predictions. Same on age appropriate. Yes, that makes a ton of sense, because there's times where we might find something and it's mixing things together and it's going to make a reaction, but we obviously couldn't do that with an 18-month-old. So yes, I totally agree with that. But also too, we can go to the point of, with an 18-month-old, then you can just name something outside the window, and that's science. So, all you got to do is talk about even their toes. Your toes are connected to your feet. Your feet are connected to your ankle, or pointing out the wind blowing outside. Do you see the trees moving? So it is hard as a teacher, and it's hard as a TA to say, oh, wait a minute, how am I going to teach this kid about science? This is just so strange, almost as strange as math. So, all right. So we've got the one and only handout that I had sent you guys. And again, I'm sharing my screen and not really sharing it with y'all. I'm only sharing it with myself. So let me get with the program. Okay. So here is the only handout that I had sent you guys beforehand. It's the only one that you're going to use. And so for the first part of this, for about 10 minutes, you are going to just talk about the categories of the science and the different categories that they should have in their classroom for the kids to explore and play with. And so from here, we'll ask them to have an example of them whenever you talk about them. And I also, beside of me, I have my Eckers book opened up to science, and I have my Itters book opened up to science. So therefore you can bring it into the different age groups, and you can go by the actual scale of nature science in the Itters and the nature science in the Eckers. And you can actually, if you don't have anybody answering you for these things, for the categories, then all you have to do is look in your book. So have items together with a table to explore and learn. So in our science area, we need a table because they have to have a place to do this with. And it needs to be a table where they can sit down and be comfortable and really be able to do those experiments that are hard to plan. So that right there, with having the items and having the table and the comfortable place to sit and do these things, it would make it an interest center. So therefore they would even go up in their 5 areas to be an interest center. So the 5 categories are, the first one is a living thing. So who has an example of a living thing?
A non-toxic plant.
Yes, a non-toxic plant. So how do we know if plants are dangerous or not? What can we do for that?
We use the document that comes with the from the health department that you get about the different type of poison plants list and what makes them poisonous.
Yes. Okay. And you know what? Now that we are talking about this, I think maybe I should have that list and maybe we can show it on the screen to them and say, you know, these are the plants and explain to them where they can find it. So thank you, Kathy. All right. So I'm just making myself a note on that one.
And Jessica, they also have to make sure whatever state they're in, they're using that one because some plants varies based on state.
Right, exactly. I know like in North Carolina, you cannot have tomato plants because the plants are poisonous. The leaves on tomato plants are poisonous. And so you can't have tomato plants in your room. But I don't, down here, I think tomato plants are okay. So what else for a living item? What, Allison?
They just can't be within reach of the children.
Okay,
That's what they've said from their licensing consultants. So
okay. So what else for a living thing? What else could they have?
Any kind of real animal, like a fish, a real turtle. Just anything
Yes.
real. Any kind of butterfly, like butterfly, you know, the butterfly thing, ant, like an ant farm. There's
Yep.
all different things like that.
Absolutely. And I tell people too, whenever I was a teacher, I used to go and get the fishing worms
Mhm.
and I would put them in a bucket
Mhm.
and put them in dirt in a bucket. And I would actually have those worms for the kids to play with. And the kids could wash their hands and then go play with the worms and then, of course, wash their hands afterwards. And the teachers go, oh my gosh, no, I'm not going to let them play with worms. But, you know, they're not going to hurt them and it's fine as long as they wash their hands. So that would be a great thing also. One of my teachers had parakeets. And that was really cool for the kids to be able to take care of the parakeets. So, yes, anything that is breathing would be a living thing. So what about natural objects? Who has an example of a natural object?
cotton.
Yeah, cotton. Absolutely. Pine cones. What else?
Rocks, sticks, leaves.
Yes, rocks, sticks, leaves. Absolutely.
You know what's really good? The little balls that fall off the gum branch trees. I don't know what they're called,
Oh, yeah.
Cucumbers.
but I always get I collect those and like put them in bottles and stuff for my providers. I don't know what they're called though.
I call them
Cucumbers.
gums. What are they?
Cucumbers.
Cucumber, is that what you call them? I don't know.
Yes.
I call them
Cucumbers.
round, pointy things that are
There's a
sharp.
song about them.
Really?
Oh, Kookaburra sits on the old. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to look up
Right.
that song.
Yeah, that's old
That
song.
song's about a bird, right?
I've never even heard the song. I'll have to look it up.
That's a song.
Yeah, I know it.
Bart,
Huh. Yes, bark. And one thing too that you want to make sure that you tell the teachers is that natural objects are natural. So like if they get the seashells that are painted pink, that's not natural. Those have been enhanced. So we need to make sure that we are showing them natural items. So not the rocks that have been painted or little like the rocks that you guys got in the mail. So nothing like that. It needs to be something natural. So from the natural items, the factual books and nature science picture games. So who has an example of something of that?
like the Guinness books, but maybe not as that have the real
Oh.
thing. out of it.
Like the world record books? Yeah.
They have an actual.
Yes, that's a good one.
Life cycle type of books.
Yes, life cycles. That would be really good also. Mhm.
Books that,
yeah,
that
matching
are
game. I'm sorry.
factual.
Say it again.
Books that are factual.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely, like real animals and books about the weather and books about the seasons and things like that. Yes.
Yeah, no books with the aardvark that talks and elephants that talk. Well, you can have them, but for it to be real life, for it to be
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't want our books to have like animals that have smiles. or animals wearing clothes, because that's not factual, obviously. Well, some people put clothes on there, but
Animals that talk.
yes, or animals that are talking. So, you know, an aardvark is Arthur. He's obviously not factual. So for some of the science games and items to play with would be like, even if you go to the dentist and they do a mold of your teeth, so you could put that mold in there, so that, and maybe a toothbrush, and so the kids could pretend to brush their teeth or floss or something like that, so they could do that with the teeth. And then any kind of like x-rays. X-rays are awesome, that you can put up on the window and it'll shine through, the light will shine through, so they can actually look at the x-rays and examine the x-rays and things. There's a lot of really good stuff at Kaplan too that I get, like the Mommy and Me game on the baby animals and mother animals. They've got these little books. They're interactive books that whenever you move them, then the objects on the pages move. Have y'all seen those books? Those are really cool. What else? Anything else that y'all order from Kaplan that you think is really awesome for science?
There's like those memory match games, but it shows like the animal skin tone or patterns, and then you match it with like the animal or the footprints, the different animal
Yes.
footprints.
Yeah, the footprints are really cool, and the animal skin. I'll get that a lot too.
And I like to get the
Shadows.
x-rays also.
Yes, and then they have the x-rays that you can get from there. Yeah. All right, so how about tools? What tools are we going to be telling the teachers that they can have in the science center?
A microscope or magnifying glasses.
Yes, absolutely. Microscope, magnifying glass. What else?
Tweezers.
Tweezers, yes. What'd you say, Allison?
Magnets, like a magnet.
Magnets. Yes. And remember too that if you have a magnet, you gotta have things that stick and don't stick. So you want to show the differences between those.
A beaker and a flask, maybe.
A flask?
And a beaker.
Yes, and a beaker to mix things with. Yes,
You
absolutely.
have to make sure with those two, you actually have something they
Remember?
can't, like you got to have the liquid in there or it
Right.
won't count. Yeah.
Yes. So anything for science, if it's in there, if you put it in the center, then it has to be able to be understood and used by the children. So if you do put a flask in there, then you have to have something to pour in it. You have to have something to go in it. So it's kind of like even the sensory bottles. Sensory bottles aren't going to count unless you've got something to do with them. So, or unless they see you interacting with the children and using those sensory bottles. So it's not just a matter of pouring blue in one bottle and pink in the other bottle and green in the other bottle. You maybe put something in there that the kids have to search and find, and have a bottle that maybe is like an animal bottle, and they have to search the animals and name the animals in the bottle or something like that. All right, so how about sand and water play with toys? What are some things that we can put in the sand and water table?
Objects that sink and float.
Yes, absolutely. Objects that sink and float. So you have to have sink and float in order to talk about it. Measuring cups, measuring spoons. I take the bottom off of my detergent, off of my clothes detergent, and those little cups, and I throw them in a box. This is what I do for my providers. I have a box in my laundry room, and anytime that I have anything at all to save for a teacher, I go throw it in that box. And when that box gets full, as soon as that box is full, then whatever center I'm going to that day gets the box. So I take them the box, give them what all's in it, and I save things like the seaweed wrapper paper that you make things, what do you make out of them? Sushi out of them. Never used them yet, but I did buy some. But that box is really cool for diversity. And I do like garlic holder, you know, my salt shakers, things like that, paper towel rolls, anything at all that I think is really cool. Gert actually had this little box, and it held rounds of bullets And I thought that was so cool because pencils would fit in it. So I had that in there, and just anything at all, just throw it in a box and then take it to the person that you're going to when your box gets full. And that's a good way to get things in your science area, your diversity area, sometimes your math area. So that's just a good way to get items in your room.
And Jessica, that
Uh-huh.
also they also need with the science with the sand and water, make sure it's the right depth because you will have those material. But if you can't dip, sift, or pour it, it's still
Yes.
in a functional table.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it has to be enough to scoop and pour. And what I do is I'll take like a pin and I'll just stick it down in the sand table. Because a lot of teachers, you know, they'll be like, yeah, I've got a water table, and then they'll be like, that much water in there. I'm like, seriously, really? That's not going to work. So just make sure that it is something that the kids will enjoy. And that's also too, you could put bubbles in the water. You could turn the water different colors for your different themes. So I always add items from my theme in the water too, even like ice cubes, you know, as long as the kids are 3 and 4 years old, then you could add some ice cubes in there also. All right, so then from here, we're just going to go through the rest of this right here, the rest of the handout, and it is what staff could do. So staff could interact and have this language for more quality care. So of course, it's moving up the ladder too in your assessment book of the quality, also from like a 3 to a 5 to a 7. So from here, the staff should use and talk about the science items with the children during free play. Again, I would remind them that the children should be able to pick if they want to go to the science area, and just the kids playing with the science items, but the teacher not mentioning them is not good quality, because the teacher should actually go over there and sit down at the table with them and be on their level and play with it. Then we've got the talk about nature and science. So that is anytime during the day, whether you are discussing the weather chart, or you're pointing out a tree outside, or you're pointing at display on your wall, or I was in a center, actually it was Cynthia and I, when we were with, oh, what's her name that we did the reliability with. There was a teacher, she was out on the playground, and there was this bug. And instead of her being all freaked out about the bug, she was like, oh, yes, let's watch this bug. And this bug does good things for us. So she was explaining the bug, and they were all over there talking about the bug. And she actually moved the bug off of the play set. So the kid said that the bug needed to go home and find its mama. But so she was actually talking about the bug and naming the bug. And then she said that whenever they got back inside, then they could look up the bug to see more facts about the bug. So that right there, you know, was excellent that she was actually pulling that out. So then modeling concern for the environment, I suggest that put little notes to yourself up on the wall. So like when you go outside with, or when the teachers go outside with the kids, then have that note up at the light switch that says, turn off light to save electricity, or turn off water to save water, or, you know, just have little things somewhere about how it's important that we have concern for the environment. Also, one of my centers during the real assessment, she is, I think they're gone now, but Allison will remember this. So there was a mouse during the assessment, and the director came in with a broom, and she was chasing that mouse around the room and trying to kill it during the assessment.
Points taken off.
Do what? Yes, absolutely. Because yeah, she was trying to kill that mouse in front of all the kids. And they're totally closed now, right? I think they are. So just make sure that you're telling the teachers, you know, if you see a spider, don't stomp it. You know, maybe you could talk about that spider and get the spider in a cup, and then take the spider outside and say, this spider helps us. It eats bugs that like mosquitoes. So, you know, that it helps us to not get bit by so many mosquitoes or like that. So just make sure that they're talking about the concern for the science and the environment. Another thing for the staffs to do is initiate activities for measuring, comparing, and sorting using the science items. So that's where the kicker is. It is using the science items. So they need to do the measuring, do the comparing, and doing the sorting by using the actual items in the science area. So if they're over there comparing blocks in the block area, that's not going to count for doing it with science items. So comparing leaves or measuring the height of a plant and writing it down on a graph, talking about how big somebody's foot is, measuring their feet, you know, having a little measure for that, and comparing it with each other. The different sizes of feet or different heights, different hands, how big your hand is, things like that. And then having one or more pets or plants so the children can observe, take care of, and talk about them. So just having a plant in the room is not enough. They need to actually talk about the plant, talk about how it is making oxygen, or talk about how the leaves grow, or look at new growth on that plant. If they don't have a plant in the room, then if they have something outside their window, then they can talk about the plant right outside their window or the bird feeder. How many birds do you think we're going to get on our bird feeder today? I had a bird feeder as a teacher on my window, and I asked the kids what kind of birds they thought were going to come and eat out of our bird feeder. And I had pictures that I had cut out. And so I had it on the table, on my parent table. So the parents came in with the children each day, and they went over to my parent table, and they were able to pick out the picture, and then they put tape on it and they put it on the poster saying which one they thought was going to come to it. And I even had things like a flamingo, a toucan, and these kids were picking those, and that's what they were saying were going to come to our seeds. And it was the cutest thing ever. And then we actually, when a bird did come to it, it was a cardinal. And believe it or not, I didn't even have a picture of a cardinal, even though this is when I was in North Carolina, and that's the state bird. And I didn't even have a cardinal on that table. But they, when that bird did come up, I was actually able to get a picture of it. And it was really cool to be able to get a picture of that bird on our bird feeder. And then I put that picture up on the wall. So therefore we can actually say, well, which ones do you think are coming to the feeder and which ones really came? So have the kids help water the plant. We saw in another center not long ago that in a lot of the teachers, you know, don't want the kids to water the plants because they have a cup of water and they're walking around the room with it and they might spill it. But some people are picky about things like that. But this teacher actually had a spray bottle of water. So the kid it was their turn, this kid was spraying the plant. But it was so funny because that child sprayed that plant for so long and so vigorously that the entire table was just soaking wet, and it was just dripping water all over the floor, and it was hilarious to watch. But she was just having the time of her life being able to water those plants. So make sure that the kids are actually helping with those plants, and they are the ones that are doing it. So the next thing is I don't really talk about like the science words, and I don't really talk about the examples of digging deeper, but you certainly can with this. You can talk about these are really good science words to say, to write down on your note cards or on your word wall, or just have like a whiteboard. And so you can actually say these words and then say, look, this says analyze. So you can actually show them the written language in the science area. And then of course, digging deeper is nice observation. I see that you've been exploring. How could you design it? Can we test it? What evidence do you have? So therefore you're getting that science talk and you're digging deeper of trying to get them to explain things to you, and you're having a conversation with them. So like I said, I don't quite, I, in the training, there's not a whole lot of going over those two things on the bottom, but you certainly can if you wanted to go through that with them. So from here, we're going to get the certificates. We've got some really cool stuff on the chat box too that I missed because I was sharing my screen. Did everybody saw that on the chat? So like the fish tank, the pine cones, seashells, touch and feel animals. That's a good one. Memory has the memory does have the realistic animals. And then, oh, the animals from the different regions. Yeah, that's cool. And laminating those and giving them to the teachers. Recycling box, totally forgot about the recycling box, and telling the kids, yes, we recycle to help with the environment. And even to the point of like bringing up the different plastics and talking about the different plastics and how long it takes those plastics to go away in our world. So that would be a really good one too. Fossils are fantastic. Yeah, and they actually have some of the fossils in Kaplan, so those are good too. All right, so now you do an individual activity, and what this is that it's like a scavenger hunt. So we're going to take 10 minutes, and I want you to go around your house, and I want you to find one item in your house from every one of the categories. So here I would actually put this back up on the screen, and I'm not sharing again, but okay. So here, and you all have a copy of this, but you could go back to this right here and say the sand and water and the living items, everything is here, and you can highlight them. So just keep that up on the screen, and 10 minutes, go find one living thing, one natural object, one book or something for a science game, one science tool, and one item that you could play in the sand and water with. So it is now 10:41. We will come back at 10:51. So at 10:51, I'll see you guys back on here. Okay? Any questions? All right, I'll see y'all in a minute. Or 10.
Is that going in the chat box?
I can definitely put it in the chat box. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Absolutely. There you go.
doing nothing, man. Right.
Shelly, want to see something?
Oh, hey there. Hey there, little guy. You gotten big.
It is.
You got big.
I need to get better lighting. Let me change my.
I was watching My Name is Earl the other day. You ever seen that show?
No. Yes. I
And they got a pet turtle on there.
Caitlin.
I don't think I have science tools.
I thought I didn't, but you do. There's one that everyone has right now.
What? My computer? A thermometer. I guess I could go get some tongs. Yep. Cynthia just read my mind.
Tweezers from your bathroom.
Oh, I can't move those or they'll be misplaced forever and then that'll be tragedy.
Yep.
I buy at least one pair a month.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
That and nail clippers. Out of nowhere, then 10 of them show up. We better have a show and tell.
Yeah, I get tuna fish in here. Like, look at my dog. This is my dog. I'm teaching this training at the end of August, so I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited to see what people are going to be bringing up their scavenger hunt.
going to their kids' rooms and stealing stuff.
That's what my mom said when I went to the book. She's like, Kaylee, don't look. Your mom's taking all your books.
Y'all might be able to hear me if I take myself off of mute. Welcome back. So I trust that everybody found awesome items in your house for living things, natural objects, factual books or games, tools, and sand and water play toys. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to break y'all off into groups. You will have 25 minutes in your group, and your group will share your objects that you found. And as a group, I want you to come up with ideas for each of these items to plan an activity for each one of the items. So if Becky had a piece of lettuce growing in her kitchen, which I do, I'm growing lettuce in my kitchen from an old little piece of lettuce. It's really cool. I'll show it to y'all. So if Becky has that lettuce and y'all decide as a group that you want to use Becky's lettuce for the living thing, then I want you to plan an activity for that lettuce. Keep in mind that we want you to be able to tell us what type of language that you could use to help support play and learning about that lettuce. So what you'll do is you'll have the living thing, which will be Becky's lettuce, and you'll plan an activity for that. Keep in mind the words that you're going to use for the kids. And then maybe Stephanie has a pine cone. So I want you to plan an activity for Stephanie's pine cone. Maybe Mandy picked out a book about the weather. So you'll plan an activity with that book and so on. Does everybody understand? So there's going to be 3 or 4 people in a group. So you will have 3 living things, but only pick one. Pick which one that y'all feel that you want to do. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Do we do an activity for all 5 categories, or do we just do one category?
So because you can either do it either way for your participants. If you have if you know your participants well enough, like y'all, obviously for 25 minutes y'all are going to be able to do something with all five. Or if you've got some people that just aren't real science savvy, then just give them one category. And I'll tell you, at first I had typed in group 1, do living things, group 2, do natural objects, group 3, you're going to do a game, group 4. So I did have that typed into the chat box, and I was going to send that. But with us being us, I think we can do all 5 of them, don't y'all? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get you out in groups, and y'all are going to come back to me in 25 minutes. Okay. So you got 25 minutes to plan this. Okay. Any questions? Everybody good? Okay. I'll see you in just a little bit. I'm going to put you in groups.
Why is this up?
Allison, you look mischievous.
Why?
I don't know. You just have a look on your face like, I don't
Was that really 25 minutes?
That went fast.
It did.
I was just getting ready to ask y'all if
We got it. Good.
I think it's good time for the providers, but
Yeah.
for us, we get into our groove and it's
Right.
like,
Mhm.
yeah, do this, do that, do that.
And we were in our groove, honey.
Me too. I got cut off halfway through my sentence.
Well, I was sitting here, I was typing out everybody's accounts and everything, and I'm thinking, gosh, 25 minutes is way too long.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
So y'all don't think so?
It's
Mm-mm.
perfect.
They
So
may
do
be
you-
in there not, I don't know, they may not talk as long to be as in depth as we are.
I would
But
encourage
if you
them
and
to-
your co-host jump around from every room just to keep them on track, it will be
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
and I would encourage them to use their phones. That's
Okay.
what we did. We Googled the natural object that Sheila had to find
Yeah.
out the name of it. So your phone is your friend in this training.
Okay. So tell them to
They could
use
use, yeah,
Okay.
to help them.
Now I want to know what Sheila has.
I know.
know.
Okay.
It was the things that Miss Cindy was talking about when we first started, the little prickly things.
Okay.
Oh,
Janine called them what, Janine?
Kookaburras.
But they're actually called sweet gumballs after we Googled.
Yes, that's what I thought they were called.
How do y'all even find it? By what did you describe it?
We Googled it.
I'm tired of calling those things round prickly things.
I Googled, yes, that's what I Googled.
Yes.
Gumball.
Prickly balls from a tree. And
Okay.
Yeah, I'd heard them called gumballs. I thought that's what they were. Because
Yeah, a kookaburra is actually a bird because Cynthia looked up the song, and
I
all
heard of
these.
cockerels too, like
Oh.
cockerels.
I learned the wrong information.
But the kookaburras hang out in the sweet gum trees. That's
Yeah.
that's where you link it
Oh,
together.
that's what. Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
That's
So they weren't all totally wrong in teaching us.
I can do that song in I used to do
Isn't
it in
that how
sign
the song
language.
goes? Kookaburra sits in the sweet gum tree. Mary, Mary, king of the bushes. He.
See, I
Oh, I
wouldn't
know.
argue, you guys, because I was really thinking they taught me this when I was little. I've been teaching.
all right. So now comes the time that we are going to let all the groups share. So instead of sharing every single thing on the list, I would just have the spokesperson share one item because, sharing all of it would take all of our life. So we'll give about 25 minutes to share, for the groups to share the one thing on their list. Okay. So we had 4 groups. So group 1 is going to be Cynthia, Janine, Sheila, and Stephanie. Do y'all have a spokesperson? Okay.
But I put the document up on the screen. Can everybody see it?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Who wants to talk about it?
Oh, go up some. I'll talk about it. Down. We got to see the top. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we were talking about something very different that we learned new information about that we could share too. It's her beautiful, look down at Cynthia, her beautiful cacti, her cactus plant. It's so different. So we chose that to bring in something new and creative. We got all kinds of tier 2, tier 3 words. We're learning about caring for the plant and how to care for it. It is totally different than the norm of a regular plant. We talked about the type of land it needs to grow, or soil it needs to grow, which is different from a normal plant. Grows in the desert, dry land. It needs little to no rain. Dry or barren, that's another word, to support vegetation. That's another word. Areas that receive little rain. The desert is also a word, introducing that it can be hot or cold types of deserts. This one dwells in hot land. And then talking about the cacti itself. These were some of the great words. Thick, waxy skin. What is waxy? And talking about texture.
In there. I told you to eat the last piece of
Kathy.
on the counter.
I want one below.
Kathy.
In there.
Kathy. Sorry. And then, oh, she said reduce loss of water and reflect heat. I was just loving these words. What reduce means, what reflect means. Then it's large fleshy stems to store water. So the cacti actually stores its own water. Thorns and thin spiky leaves. So the spikes are called the leaves on this plant compared to another plant, which we talked about doing comparisons and even charting our comparisons of the cactus and other plants. So that's the dictation of words that can be in the environment as well. And then the spikes protect the cacti from animals. So how does this plant protect itself? Protect is a word too. The deep roots to tap groundwater, roots. And then we said the activity was to allow children to actually touch the plant. Since it's an immature plant, the spikes aren't as sharp as if it were a older plant. And once it grows more, the spikes will become harder, and it may be not safe for them to touch it. So we can talk about that. Also teaching them the responsibility and being aware. So it's teaching them some sort of life skills as well, in comparison to how you have to protect yourself, how you care for things. And then the more we care for our plant, it grows. So caring for it is gonna help it to grow. And then we'll need to be careful so that we don't prick our fingers as it gets older. Also with this plant, for your plant helper, it only needs to be watered once a week. And then when you water it, you just drench it so that it can be soaked and the water drains out, and then it will retain going back up to the top that water that is going to be stored by itself. So we learned a lot about the cacti and how it is different from other plants and can still live and mature and grow.
Good information. So I have a question for y'all. Y'all had so many awesome words to teach them. Give us some ideas on how you're going to get those children to understand those words.
Well, first of all, she started at the top there, if you can see. For even the desert, she gave a short definition of what the desert was. She gave a short definition of the kind thing, the descriptive words that go along with what we were talking about. But definitely we said that we would use those words, of course, to introduce the plant, but give them not all at once, but like break it down, since it's going to be a sequence that we're studying them, to know or add those words in gradually. And then of course, you're going to push and pull in language using the words to relate to other things in the environment, of the areas they're playing in and things of that nature. But we did say those would be print-rich words that we would definitely have printed somehow. She also said we could make a teacher-created book, because we would want them to go to the real life factual information about it. So we could create a book about it where we would have those words, definitions of those words, pictures of the cacti, and things of that nature. You're muted, hon.
I am muted. I'm just sitting here just talking away. That's excellent. That's really cool. I didn't even know all of that. So,
We didn't, it was good to learn it, actually.
Yeah.
And they did say that sometimes in our journey as teachers, we don't know things, and it's good for us to go and research with the kids to learn these things and share
yes, exactly. And that's also good to show the children, even to tell the children, well, you know, I don't know. And we can learn every single day. So therefore they know that we're learning too, and that you show the kids, well, we're going to have to look that up so we can learn together. So that's really cool. Y'all did great. Thank you for all that. So now we got room 2, which is Kathy, Linda, and Mandy. Anybody want to talk from y'all's group?
Let's see. We had a good bit. Natural object is what we had. Mandy, you want to hold it up? Cicada. I guess I said that correctly. Okay, so natural objects, which was formerly a living thing also. But we were gonna discuss with the children also predator versus prey. We think that it's a predator. You said it eats the cicada. So we also study and create and draw parts of the insect, or learn about the parts of the insect, the different parts of it. The life cycle of the insect, how long does the insect live? Food web versus food chain, the benefits of the insect, the defenses of the insect as well, the proper way to collect the bug, Let's see, herbivore, omnivore, I can speak, and carnivore. And also, let's see, also having a journal about insects. Also, let's see, what was that? And I'm probably gonna say this wrong. Entomology, the study of insects, and also bugs, taxidermy, like also maybe collecting them. And having a collection of our vocabulary words as well, because we have a lot of them.
That's good. Very good. Also, too, whenever when you've got it in the jar, that's where you pull out your tools and your magnifying glass and you've got your little tweezers or pinchers or whatever. They could even maybe take it apart to look at the different items of it, like looking more at the wings and things like that. So they could do a more intense study, even putting some of it underneath the microscope and looking at it underneath the microscope. So yes, that's good. Y'all can do a whole bunch of stuff. Mandy, do you always have cicadas in jars at your house?
I save a lot of bugs because I think they're cool.
Just
a whole
like
bunch of
Rob.
dragonfly wings in my closet.
Dragonflies. I was gonna say that
Yeah.
dragonflies, you see them a lot too.
Yeah, so I collect bugs for Riley, and for some reason we have a lot of dragonflies here that are dead, and I don't know why, but I find one like at least once a week, and a lot of the big huge green moths that are the bright green color, and I found a bunch of those recently. But she takes them and she puts it in proxy, and they make things out of them, and it's just really cool looking. So, all right, so now we have breakout number 3, which is Allison, Tina, and Cindy. Y'all want to share?
Sure. I don't know which one to pick though. Ladies, do you have any suggestions? Just whichever one? Well, okay, we'll do the tools. That one was pretty cool. We came up with a cool idea for that one. So 2 of us had tweezers, but we had, 2 different sizes. So Tina had kitchen tongs, and then I had little tweezers. So we came up with the activity to just have a box of different natural items. So rocks, leaves, pine straw, whatever, you can find, and have the children analyze what's in the box. So look at all the different items and the shapes, and then estimate which tweezers or tongs they would need to use to get the items out of the box. And that opens up a lot of open-ended questions with them. So why did you choose that tweezer or that tong? How did you know you were going to be able to pick that up? So just really just getting them to answer a lot of open-ended questions there that you can ask them as they estimate how they're going to get those items out of the box. Trying to think what else we wrote about that. I think that was pretty much. You could sort them, so do some comparisons after they've gotten those items out of the box, sorting them as to like what you had to use the tongs for versus the tweezers, and talk about the different sizes, shapes, textures of each of those items as well.
It could also be like problem solving if they
Yes,
say they try to use it with the small one, but they really needed like they picked up a rock with a small one. You could ask a lot of open-ended questions and get them, get them to figure out which one they should use. Why didn't it work? Basically,
right.
You could do a lot of that with that as well.
Good idea. Yeah, you don't normally think of saying, "Hey, well, the tweezers or the tongs." So that was excellent that y'all actually thought about doing that. Good idea. The big and the small, and trying to get them to go more in depth of thinking about it. So we've got one more room, and it's room 4, which is Becky, Letty, and Shelly.
Hey, it's me. So
Hey,
the activity that we'll share from our list, I can show you. I'll just pull it up. But we aren't going to go over all of this, but one of the activities, I had a little poster of the five senses, and then we figured we could put like all of our natural objects and do like a texture activity and a smelling and senses activity, and ask all kinds of questions, which provokes thought of bringing up all these new words. We didn't really get specific into a lot of vocabulary, but a lot of like adjectives and things like that. Letty had cinnamon bark, which is a natural object that is also fun to eat, so you could also get other things like I have ginger in my backyard that could go along so that you could actually get all the five senses in. But everybody did an excellent job. Man, it was hard to follow all these people.
That's great. I love that chart. Will you, can you send me that? And then that way that can be one of my handouts for this training. And then I can just send that for them to fill out, because I was actually, while y'all were in groups, I was thinking, I should have made like a handout or something. So kind of like the math planning, that sheet for the math planning that Letty did, I was thinking about doing something like that. And then I was like, well, yeah. So if you can send me that, Shell, then I will put a title on it and make that one of the handouts. All right. So does anybody have anything else that they want to share that your group talked about?
And send us the handout too, please.
Okay, I will. Letty, you want to share something? Letty looks excited.
I am, because I take every chance I get to share my baby. Since you guys have dogs and cats, and this is my baby right here.
Oh my gosh, it's a tortoise.
Yes.
So it's a tortoise that's gonna live like 150 years that gets huge.
Before we got him, I had to tell my children that they had to do an agreement with me that once they move out, they had to figure out custody basically between both of them.
Wow.
So, right now, he's staying in my daughter's room. So everything is in her room for the summer. And my son, he keeps it the rest of the year. So that's what the agreement has been going on for the past almost 4 years. So,
wow.
Yes, I'm not going to be left behind with a pet, but he's awesome.
That is really cool. Linda wants
tortoise. Land tortoise.
Hold him up again, Letty.
Come on, Papa.
Is his name Shelly?
No, his name is Turbo.
Turbo, that's right.
Yes. And get the right light. There you go.
That is so cool. This lady that used to keep Zinnick for us in Salisbury, she had one, and they took underneath their house. They took the space underneath there, and they put heating lamps under there, and that thing lived in their backyard. And he was so big that I would put Zinnick on his back, and he would just walk around, and Zinnick would just stand back, or tortoise.
Yeah, he might double up. This one might double up in size, but it's not one of the gigantic ones.
So he's not going to get humongous like that?
No, he's going to probably get as big as a cantaloupe, probably.
Yeah.
Or a little bit bigger, but not like watermelon size.
When I was little, I had a little tiny turtle. He was about that big, and I kept him in a Pyrex dish in my room, and I named him Wets. And I had him from, gosh, I was 12. I found him in the lake, and I brought him home. And I had him whenever I was 12 to almost college is how long I had that little turtle. I loved that little turtle. I took him to the beach with us every year, and I would take a little bottle of water with me, because I didn't want him to have to be in beach water. But he totally went on vacation with us all the time. I loved that little turtle. I love turtles.
Yeah. So when we go out, we have to find him a babysitter.
Oh yeah. All right. So from here, didn't take quite as long sharing. So you guys just estimate that. And if you still have time, then maybe they can share another thing on their list or something like that. So then from here, we would go over the objectives again. So I'll take the objectives and share them again on the screen and then read over those. The participants will recognize how science material, along with the use of language, affects quality care, implement many science conversations with the children as a daily habit, and identify how to add science language to enhance play and learning by planning and being intentional. So I'd go over those again with them. And then I'd pull back up the poll. So we're going to pull up the poll again, and I'm going to relaunch the poll and let you guys take the poll again. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Would it be okay if I was teaching this training to suggest when people are sharing out for people to write down these ideas and use them in their classroom? Like,
Yes, I guess we probably need to say that out loud because we said that with the math, but so we need to suggest to write down the ideas. Yes. Or you could, depending on how many people you have, if you would like to say, if you want to send it to me, then I'll send it to the other participants. So
yeah,
you after the training.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that we need to suggest for them to write down the examples. All right. So
I wonder, Jessica, would you want to group them in infant, toddler, and preschool? Because it's very different. Because Alice was talking about how it was kind of challenging working with 1-year-olds to come up with science ideas. Would it be
That's true. And we were actually talking about that for the math training too. So I'll put that on the instructions to maybe group them out into ifs and eckers.
Yeah.
And I'll put that on this training also. Because you're right, we had all older groups talking today. So this is where we go back to the poll, and from the beginning of the poll, oh, now see, one person now is not comfortable teaching science after the training. So we didn't have that before. And I'm like, what?
I can't see the poll.
You can't see the poll? Oh,
I can see the results.
okay.
Oh, geez.
Who went down?
All right. So I've got 4 people where are a 10 now, so that's really good. 4 people are a 9. We didn't have any 9s and 10s whenever we first started. We just had 5, 6, and 7s and 8s. So we bumped that up. That's pretty good. But whoever fell behind, maybe y'all should call me after this training. We'll talk more. So from here, I would have your participants write in the chat box for the transfer of learning, or the TOL, however you want to say it, and to measure if they learned more information. Ask everybody to type one thing that they plan on using from this training in their classroom in the chat box. So I'm going to ask y'all to do that now. One thing that you learned in the training that you are definitely going to take back and use. Saving all the bugs that I find. And the turtle. Making homemade books to use with my natural objects and living things. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then all the different activities that we talked about today. The different tools, creating the natural box. If you guys would like to take what you did, if you did write it down, then, and if you want to send it to me, I'll send it out to everybody if you guys will do it like we did the math training. All right, so it looks like we got some good stuff. Intentionally planning for science activities. Absolutely. We don't see that a lot of intentionally planning something for science, using the internet to research when I feel brain dead, adding a cactus. I like the cactus idea. Yes. Yeah, and just making sure that these teachers know that the internet can be their friend. You know, we sit and tell them all the time, don't be on your phone, don't be on your phone, don't be on your phone. But for your science, it's a really good idea to have them jump on their phone and say, hey, let's look this up. And let's see if we can find some more information. So that would be totally appropriate for the kids. So from here, I would again tell everybody that I had that I was going to put everybody's 2 hours in the Georgia PDS accounts and to be looking for that. And that this is the science play and exploration training. So be on the lookout for that in their Georgia PDS. And I would, if I had anybody that did not write their name in their Georgia PDS number in the chat box, which y'all all did, but if I had somebody, then I would tell them again, you know, I'll need that before the training is over. So, and any questions, ask them any question, you know, does anybody have any questions or have anything else that you want to add? So does anybody have questions or anything you want to say or add? Okay. So,
I like this training.
well, thank you from our zone. Thank you. We appreciate it. So if anybody is planning on doing this in the next 30 days, send me an email. For the math right now, I can't, okay, I got you, Shelley. For the math, I TFT'd the 2 people that sent me the message telling me that they're going to do it in the next 30 days. And little by little, I'll be adding y'all. So if you're going to do either the math or the science, just send me a quick email and I'll put you on there for a TFT. Okay. I mean, you will all eventually be TFT, but for right now.
Remember, this was not a temporary virtual approval. This class was written as virtual and will stay that way. So it's not just something that's going to expire once we go back into the real world. We went ahead and went virtually all the way.
Yeah, this class and the math class that we did on Friday, they're both virtual and they're going to stay virtual. So they're complete solid trainings that aren't going away. And you can, Linda, you can ask for evaluations and send the evaluation. And then, you know, like I did for the math, this time I won't. But you can definitely send it out afterwards to your participants if you want them to fill that out. Kathy, did you have a question? Or did you need to say something? You're on mute.
I was just gonna ask you, Tom. I'm gonna put in the chat box that I want to be added for both.
Okay. All right. I'm writing all this down. Okay, so if you guys
Send me too.
You too? Okay. Okay, Cynthia, you want the science one or both of them?
Remember, we have to be training within the next 30 days to be added right now. Everybody will be added, but for right now, you have to be training within the next 30 days.
Okay. And Shelley, you're sending me, you already sent me the handout, yes? Did I see that come up on my email? Okay, all right, great. Okay, anybody else questions or comments or anything? Did you see anything during the training that totally needed to be changed, like 100%, or everything's good? Okay. Okay, so.
The handout that Kelly sent us, sent us the link for, it's real nice. So if y'all hadn't looked at it, I pulled it up. That's be the one I'll be sending now to my program because it looked better than the one that right from the start had.
Okay, cool.
The poisonous plants.
Yeah, and what I did that, I added it to the notes and said to either share that link or to actually pull it up on the shared screen to show everybody. So I did put that already on the notes for the trainer.
I keep that website on my desktop.
That's a good idea. Maybe I should do that. All right. That's it. Yay. So we're all done. And I will put it on SharePoint. I'm going to send it to Shelly and have her just check through it, make sure things aren't spelled wrong. And then I'll put the math and the science on SharePoint. Okay. All right. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you.